Well, you know.
not just another nation. It is not just one of the family of nations. This is a nation with a great mission to perform for the benefit of liberty-loving people everywhere.
That we shall be as a city upon a hill.
These are the times that try men's souls. The summer soldier and the sunshine patriot will, in this crisis, shrink from the service of his country.
You've come to fight as free men. Free men you are. What will you do without freedom?
Proclaim liberty throughout all the land.
In one voice, we will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. You gotta fight for your right. Can you dig it?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another edition of Real News in the Morning. My name is Mr. Henry. Over there to my left, possibly your right, but beside me, one way or another, David Shine Thompson. This is Real News. Real News Radio is where you're going to find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, all the things like that. RealNewsRadio.live, though. RealNewsRadio.live is possibly the best ways to find all of our things. That's sort of the central hub landing page that our boy Shine put together. Great looking stuff over there. It directs you to all the affiliate pages. You can see everything there. Oddly enough, we also have a SoundCloud out there somewhere too. We're still going to do an audio podcast thing with as well. And by the way, dude, Shine, very interesting jump here before we do the greatest audience in the nation appreciation. Speaking of podcasts, did you see Joe Rogan signed exclusively with Spotify?
I did.
That's kind of crazy to me.
I think it's YouTube's comeuppance. It's you know, and I think that one thing. And here, let me get that American flag off our screen real quick. There we go. I think that one thing will fundamentally change the platform forever. Yeah. I think YouTube, after Joe Rogan is completely off the platform by, I think he said December, by the end of this year. It will only be on Spotify, and after Joe Rogan leaves YouTube, YouTube will slowly turn into a B version of Hulu. It'll just become like a worse Hulu with gamers on it, you know, because they've purged all the great channels of user channels, and they don't allow conspiracy stuff anymore. So that means like anybody who talks politics or history that isn't like mainline narrative is off YouTube. Almost everybody who talks politics is off YouTube. And even a lot of the great gamer channels are gone because of Gamergate a year ago. So it's
right, dude.
I may be getting a full Spotify membership. Good for
that's
Spotify.
the interesting thing, and I kind of wonder for someone like a Joe Rogan, man, who's part of his appeal is being so widely available to so many people at any given time. And if you don't know Joe Rogan, it's that Joe Rogan, right? It's the same Joe Rogan from shoot, man, what's the TV show back in the day? The Fear Factor. Yeah, it's that same Joe Rogan. It's Joe Rogan of UFC fame. It's the guy who gives commentary on all the fights. That Joe Rogan. That Joe Rogan, by the way, has arguably the most listened to podcast in the United States for sure, and one of the most listened to podcasts worldwide. Like, I'm not kidding. The guy is he's the standard setter, essentially, for what a podcast should and looks like, right?
He's not just that, Grant, and it's something weird to think about, but he is the biggest, most watched person of all time. Him and PewDiePie go back and forth. Actually, they switch back and forth, but or listen to whatever. But he's definitely the biggest interviewer. He's a bigger interviewer by orders of magnitude than Oprah. He's a bigger interviewer by orders of magnitude of Larry King. As far as viewers. And Larry King used to have 10 million people a night. But that's the world we live in now. It's a weird world.
And I'm telling you, like, once Joe Rogan made that decision to go Spotify exclusive, I kind of wonder, like, how much did Spotify pay this guy?
110 million.
Is that right? It's made public now? Awesome.
Yeah. 110 million was the contract.
All right. Well, goodness gracious.
I sent him a tweet. And said, man, you've been doing this 15 years. It's about time you got a payday. That's pretty cool. Good for him, man.
Good for Joe Rogan, honestly. And, Spotify's a platform where, like, people can have it for free, can still be accessible. But I think you are exactly right, man. The analysis you jumped to, Sean, that this is more of a referendum on YouTube than it may even be. Yeah, okay, obviously, 110 million come from Spotify. That speaks for itself. But the second level analysis there clearly is that if Joe Rogan was making anything even near that, even close to that, right? And I'm talking, like, even in the same sport, let alone ballpark, to 110 million, he probably would have stuck with YouTube if they treat him right. If you didn't have to constantly worry about self-censorship, if you didn't have to constantly worry about losing sponsors, if you didn't have to constantly worry about, what may or may not get flagged or taken down or copyright violations or any of that trash that someone has to deal with. Yeah, man. So good on Joe Rogan. Good for you. By the way, greatest audience in the nation appreciation segment here. Let's do it right. Judy's in there. Victoria's in there. David's in there. What's up, David? That's awesome. Been a while since I've heard from David. James is in there. Josh Perky saying, what's up? Good morning from South Knoxville. James is saying, I subscribe to Spotify. He loves it. Greatest audience in the nation appreciation segment. This is basically where we just call out to our members. Want to know what you're proud of, what you're thankful for, any accomplishments you have going, anything you want to bring us up to date on that we can just sort of come together as a community and celebrate with you. Or if you need help with anything in the other vein is that as well. Anything that you may need help with, you may need somebody reach out to you. If you just need a hot meal cooked for you, man, like, I don't know, whatever it is, let our community help you. I promise you, we have a little bit bigger reach than you might think. and it's the reach that we do have with the people that are truly concerned, care, and compassionate about what's going on. Shine, jumping into the first story that you see on the headlines up there. By the way, all the show notes are linked as every single morning that Evernote, best way to follow along. But you see, Tennessee House will be open. Tennessee Senate may not be. All right, this is the main story that's driving Tennessee politics right now, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You'll see this headline coming from WKRN. It's a local affiliate here in Nashville. Starting out by saying plexiglass, masks, and social distancing are some of the things that Tennesseans will see state lawmakers do when they return next week from their COVID-19 recess. But will the public be there? I would probably likely say probably not. Probably not, because what it sounds like right now, without bearing the lead, what it sounds like right now, and this is public information, it's reported on right now, so I feel totally comfortable making it public for the real news audience as well. What it's sounding like is that the House is saying, we want to be here for as long as possible. 6 weeks at a minimum, 7, 8 weeks, whatever it takes, we want to get this stuff done. If there was bills that were pushed through on committee, which is a difficult process to get to, if you pushed it through to committee and it's getting closer and closer to a floor vote, the amount of effort that you wouldn't put in, we don't want that to be for naught. We want the people to come up there that spend their time, the lobbyists that get paid for it, obviously, but the people that come up there on their own time, the individuals, the representatives themselves, their constituents coming into their office, the time and effort that you put into this, we want it to be worth something. The House is saying anyways, I suppose. They're going to stick around for 6, 7, 8 weeks. But now on the other side, it seems like what the Senate is saying is, no, man, if we got to be here for a day, that's probably a little bit too long. And I'm telling you directly from some of the horse's mouth, some of these senators have been open on public record already saying in public, we're only planning to meet for about 3 or 4 days. I kind of want to know the real news audience opinion on this. And look, I don't pretend to be an expert up here, but I'm just throwing out there. Look, if the Senate's not meeting at all and the House has said they're going to be around for 2 months if they want to, does it matter what the House is going to be there if you don't have the support from the Senate side? Going on, this is becoming a lingering issue now that's created division between the House and Senate. I'm reading again from WKRN. House Republicans, like Judiciary Committee Chairman Michael Curcio, Representative Curcio, said that his chamber wants the public to be there next week. He says, quote, part of what we are doing is the intentional process of allowing the public to engage. So, for example, he says, in the committee rooms, expect to see some plexiglass partitions in between the members up there, in between each member up there, plexiglass partitions. And we actually did that specifically so that the public can come in those committee rooms. Now, over on the Senate side, staffers said there will be no such plexiglass plans being considered as a way to let the public in next week. Senate leaders are more hesitant to allow public to come in to these Capitol Hill facilities. Essentially, the Senate side is saying, we're worried about tax and spend policies. That's it. Okay. Now, I will say, too, there's been information delivered that the rainy day fund, the surplus that Tennessee's dealing with, is okay right now. Now, I don't know how much longer we can go forward where that rainy day fund will no longer be okay. But for the current time being, the rainy day fund, the slash budget, surplus that we've been working with is all right. But the Senate does have some type of impetus to deal with the tax and spend policies, the COVID-19 related lack of revenue, lack of spending, lack of sales tax, all that stuff. And that is what allegedly the Senate will deal with, and only that. Mission critical bills is what they're saying. Tax and spend only, and then we're out of there. 3 to 4 days at most is what they're talking about. Now, again, I kick it over to Sean if you want to give some response or if we're hearing anything from real news audience here. Last thing I'll say about this is, frankly, I don't know. It doesn't surprise me all that much. And I really don't even know how I feel about this necessarily. I mean, it's slightly frustrating because you have an entire part of the body, i.e. the House, that's saying, like, I'm willing to stick around and do this for needed. And the other side is saying, well, because I could say that, like, I don't know, man, what is the Senate dealing with re-election? Well, the House is too, man. Like, everybody has the same problems going on, the same concerns going on. Nobody can do the traditional portion of fundraising. I get it. You're all running for re-election again. A lot of these are seats that are not exactly up in flux or anything, but you got to run, man. You got to raise money. You got to get the word out there. And some of them are up in flux a little bit. Some people have a little bit to worry about here. They're trying to get the word out. So I understand, but it's the same thing as the House decided to the Senate. And I personally think, Shine, what better way to get your name out than take a stance on hard policy, get some media buzz around it. I don't know, bro, come on some podcasts. There's plenty of other ways to get your name out other than physical door knocking. But what do you think, man?
Frustrating, maybe not the right word for me anyway. I'd say disappointing. Disappointing because, at this point, And me and you have dealt with this recently. If people don't feel like spending a lot of time around people right now, that's their choice. Even these elected officials, if they want to be, and I'd say too, the Senate probably skews older than the House, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, probably by a decade or so.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not to disparage being older. It's just that's the case. And if I'm assuming if people are, some of these senators, either they're worried for their safety or their spouse's safety or whoever, that could be the case. But it is disappointing because, there's lots of people, including people like me and you, that had things that we wanted the state legislature to work on this year.
Yeah, right.
Now, that's, I guess, my reaction is like, I'm not frustrated because I do understand. And I know I've been given the allowance that if I don't want to be around people, I don't have to be, So, and I know they're elected officials. So like there's a little bit of deal there. But I will say this, Grant, hold out a little hope. Because I would say that even putting out there that the Senate saying to people, we don't want to spend any more time than we have to, is kind of a testing the waters. If they get a lot of pushback, they may adjust a little bit. I mean, I think anytime a politician puts out a press release, it's almost like a straw poll. It's not, this is exactly what I'm doing. This is what I'm thinking I'm doing. And they're really put out a press release to get a response, or to see how people respond. If people respond, in really negatively to the idea that the Senate will only be open for a short time, that would put some pressure. But I'm not calling for people to bug the Senate about being open. Definitely not doing that. You can if you want, but I'm not calling for you to do it. I'm not saying not to do it either. But anyway,
actually, man, I'd say, but you actually just helped me get a really a decent perspective on this, man. Because you're right. I think obviously I'm carrying some bias into this because of the work that you and I have put in prior to this story of trying to get some pieces of legislation passed that I truly do believe will remove barriers for Tennesseans and make their lives better. I mean, we're talking like generational solving type problems. I'm not trying to be too braggadocious about that. I just meant like we tried to do some good work this session. But I will say, Sean, you're exactly right. In general, the adage goes, if government is not passing bills at any level, that's usually a good thing, right? Honestly,
well, at least they're not passing something dumb like voting by proxy or something like that on the state legislature. I mean, at least they're not like willingly giving up their power to the executive. I mean, there could be we could be dealing a lot worse with state government malfeasance, like other states are, and we're not. Right. So, I mean, it could be so much worse.
And as the simple definition goes, the overwhelming majority of legislation adds new laws to the books. It does not reform or take away currently existing laws. So I guess that's one good way to look at it, man, is if they're not meeting, they can't be, passing new laws or anything. By the way, Kelly says just a second ago, they should not be getting paid for not being there to do their dang jobs. Albert Citizen said a second ago, how will the elected react when they pass the mic or the pen? Going on to say, whoa, Amazon collects sales tax for Tennessee, I believe. You said, I believe COVID idiots, TN, Austin Senator jumping the gum and creating a secondary. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I hear
we
you
can
there.
see where the audience is at on the issue. They're obviously not very excited about the Senate. See, this is what I'm saying, though, is that they put this news out that they're not going to spend a lot of time up there. And look how our audience reacted. And what if that is, if that's the kind of reaction that everybody has, they may be a little more flexible. Who knows? But that's the way I feel about it. Have a little hope is what I'm saying.
Again, man, going on the theme of the last couple of weeks here, that we're sitting in an extremely unprecedented time. Another story coming out of the Nashville area here is that a local business owner is actually suing the city of Nashville and the state of Tennessee over their handling of COVID-19. Now, this is a situation that obviously is related to Nashville first, but I guarantee you, I can absolutely guarantee you, these style stories are happening all across the United States, and these style of stories you're going to start hearing more and more and more of. And it's a very interesting litmus test, especially for those that are considering themselves conservative, limited government folks, those that don't like how litigious our society is already, those that want to see some kind of tort reform, right? Those that lean libertarian. It's a very interesting litmus test for those. And it's also interesting to listen to how this dude, I say dude, it's a guy that owns